evening everyone, welcome back to my channel True Crime with Jess Rose. I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. If you'd like to join us. Tuesdays are my request evening and Thursdays are stories that I like to bring to you. So if you'd like to join my Patreon, it's patreon.com/JessRose5472. Thank you so much for joining me. And yes, I'm going to begin the story now. So it's the upsetting Austin Smith story. Okay, so this is Hayley's request this evening. Okay, now as I've pointed out, it has been a little bit hard getting some information, only based on dates and stuff that I do like to put across, but I've got everything I can. So okay, so it is the upsetting Austin Smith story. I'm just going to give you a couple of names here. There's not many, so it won't be hard to try and keep up with it. There's not a load of names I'm going to throw at you this evening, like I know I do sometimes. So we've got a girl by the name of Ashley Smith, okay? And at the point of the story she's 19. She was born around 94. Okay, now Ashley actually has a little boy called Austin, okay, and at the point of the story we're at, he's 23 months old. He was actually born on the 23rd of March 2011, okay, and Ashley has known a young lad called Dylan Shoemaker. Okay, Schumacher. I think it's Schumacher, okay? Now, Dylan was born in around 1997. He was born in Buffalo, New York. At the point of the story he's 16, okay? Now, Ashley and Dylan, like I say, had known each other for a few years, but they actually started an on-off type relationship. Now, yes, you are right. Dylan, at the point in the story we're at, when we get there, is 16. So, yes, Ashley began the relationship with Dylan, and it has to be when he was 15, because at the point in the story we're at, there's a little lad called Christopher, who was born in January of 2013. And the point of the story, right, he's 2 months old. Okay, so everyone believes that Christopher is Dylan's little boy. Obviously, Austin is not. Christopher is. All right, I know I'm getting you confused. I'm confusing myself. All right. So we have Ashley. She has 2 boys, Austin and Christopher. Okay, Austin, older boy, belongs to another man. Can't find his name. Have looked, I promise you. And then we have Christopher. The point in the story belongs to Dylan. All right, that's where we are. All right, okay. Completely baffled myself then. All right. Now, it would make Dylan 15 when Ashley was pregnant. I think I have pointed that out. Ashley would have been 18. So not great. And we know in America, age of consent is 17/18 in their state. So yeah, it's not good for Ashley there. Let's just say that. Okay, now Dylan and Ashley's relationship itself wasn't great. It really wasn't. I would argue regularly. They'd break up and then they'd get back together. It really wasn't a great relationship. It wasn't a great relationship for little Austin to be part of. It wasn't a great relationship to bring little Christopher into. It genuinely wasn't. Now, remember, this lad is 16 years old. He's a young lad, all right? Now, at age 15, Dylan, he'd been ordered by a court to go to rehab for drug abuse, and he was actually in rehab for 6 months. So he was a bit of a handful as a teenager, Dylan was. He'd also been put onto medication for ADHD and anger issues. So, just throwing it out there. Wouldn't have thought it'd be the greatest example to bring in to your young son's life, i.e. Austin, and then go on to have little Christopher, we believe, with, okay? Just not thinking Ashley was thinking very cleverly at that point. It's not the right word, but anyway, we get to January 2013, okay? And at this point, they're living in Springville, New York, all right? Now, Ashley, at this point, she was living with her dad and her stepmom with her two sons. So she's living basically at home with her two sons. Dylan is living at home with his mom and family, okay? And they're seeing each other. That's what's going on. Now, Ashley's dad finds it's unused condom in Ashley's bed. Now, what I'm assuming is the fact that his 19-year-old daughter is now the mother of two boys from two different relationships. He's probably said, maybe just concentrate on being a mum. Maybe just take it easy on the relationships for a little while. I'm assuming that's what went on. And after finding this, I know it wasn't used, so it would appear that she was at least mindful of contraception at this point. But they weren't happy and they kicked her out. They kicked her out and they kicked her out with the two boys. Now, remember, as I said, little Austin wasn't even 2. And little Christopher was a newborn. So I just think it's a bit impulsive of her dad and stepmom, if you ask me. But, okay. So, after Ashley was booted out from her dad's house, Dylan asks his mum, can Ashley and her boys move in? Now, his mum believes Christopher, the youngest little boy, the newborn, is Dylan's. So she believes that's her grandchild. So she's not happy about the whole situation. Her son is 16 years old and he's moving a girlfriend in with 2 children. But believing that the youngest is her grandchild, she allows that to happen. All right. So we get to February 2013 and Ashley and the boys move in. Okay. But it was around this time that Dylan stops taking his ADHD medication. Okay. And remember I said that's the meds he was put on around this time. He came off them. I don't know why. No one's answered why. He just stopped taking that medication. All right. Now, Ashley herself, she worked at a nearby Pizza Hut. So she had herself, a little job. But Dylan was still in high school. As you'd imagine. He's 16. So he's still in high school. Okay. Now, while Ashley was at work, Dylan would watch Christopher, the newborn. But don't forget, his mum's in the house as well. She's obviously going to help him. And Austin, little Austin, absolutely adorable looking little boy. I've seen a couple of photos of him. Oh, there's one where he's got a little cap on. So really cute little lad. He would go and stay with his biological dad while she was working, or he'd go and stay with Ashley's auntie. I believe it's her maternal aunt. He'd go and stay with her while she was working. But every now and again, Dylan would watch both boys. Okay? Now, Dylan had been heard, it's been heard that Dylan had spoken to one of his neighbours around this time after Ashley and the boys had moved in. And he'd made it clear that he didn't like Austin at all. Didn't like him at all. Had no time for him. This little boy's not even 2. Now, was it jealousy over the biological dad? who is obviously still in Ashley and Austin's life. She's obviously still got a relationship with him in a co-parenting manner. So was it jealousy over that, like an immature jealousy? I don't know. But he said it was because that Ashley just lets him get away with everything. So I don't know, but he did make it clear around that time he didn't have a lot of time for Austin. Okay. Now, on the 18th of March 2013, Dylan and Ashley have a row. All right. It does escalate to the point where Dylan locks himself in the bathroom with baby Christopher. I've heard bathroom, I've heard bedroom, but he basically locks himself in the bedroom, like either one, with little Christopher, to the point where Ashley starts to panic and she threatens to call the police. Well, he opens the door and hands Christopher back to her, but he says, if you ever call the police on me, I'll get you done for statutory rape. And she wouldn't have a leg to stand on. No leg to stand on. So he's kind of got her over a barrel a little bit there. Now, a bit later on, they were obviously still bickering. It had escalated to the point where Dylan had pushed her into one of Austin's toys. So it had already, their arguments had already began to escalate, to get physical. So it wasn't good. It wasn't good to have the boys around it. It wasn't good for them. It had only been a month. She'd only been living with him a month. So it was going to go downhill. Now, he'd had enough, so basically he says to her, I want you out of this house by the end of the week. Just how it had got to, and like I say, how it was escalating, he just basically said, I want you out. I want you and the boys out. But he only gave them to the end of the week, and she did say, can I have a little bit longer? You know, I haven't been paid yet. This is the conversation that they'd had that day, all right? So now we get to the 19th of March 2013. So it's the next day after this big blowout between the two of them. All right. Now, while he's getting ready for school, for high school, okay, he went to Hopeville High School, it said. While he's getting ready, he reminds Ashley that he wants her out by the end of the week. Now, remember, she'd asked, could she stay a bit longer? But he reminds her, no, you've got till the end of the week. I want you out. All right? And then he leaves for school. Now, when Dylan gets back from school, Ashley gets ready to go to work. And basically, remember, I says that Dylan would be asked to look after both boys every now and again, and this happened to be one of those days. And she says, can you look after Christopher and Austin? Okay. He agrees, and she goes to work. Okay. Now, about 5 p.m. ish, okay. Dylan, this is Dylan, he said that when Ashley left, Austin had been napping. Okay, he'd been having a little nap. Austin woke up, and when he walked downstairs, he actually fell down the last few stairs and banged his face. All right? But he seemed okay. So Dylan says when he'd gone to him, when Austin had fell down these couple of stairs and Dylan went to him, he says he did have blood around his mouth. So Dylan said he cleaned that up, and he also texted Ashley to tell her, you know, look, he fell down a couple of stairs, he has kind of cut his mouth, but I've cleaned him up, he seems okay. All right. And then Dylan says that he lets Austin watch a few cartoons then, and he let him watch a few cartoons while he was on his phone trying to sell some drugs to his pals, even though he just got out of rehab. Now, did that make him a dealer? Was he still taking them? Who knows? But that's what he was doing on the phone while little Austin was watching cartoons. Not only that, he was also messaging other girls. Was this why he wanted her out by the end of the week? We don't know. But he was also messaging other girls at the same time. Okay. So we get to 8 p.m. All right. He then puts Austin down to bed. All right. Believing that he was okay. Obviously, he said that he had hurt his mouth, but he believed he was okay. Puts him down to bed. Anyway, goes back to check him about 5 minutes later. And he says that Austin was breathing funny. He was really concerned. He was breathing funny. And when he went over to him, his eyes were only half open. And his lip had began bleeding again. And he was basically unresponsive. And he said it has only been 5 minutes since he laid him down. So he shouts Dylan straight away shouts for his mum, who is in the house. His mum's there, which I presume why Ashley would have felt comfortable leaving her two boys with him, because she would have known his mum's there. He can ask her for help at any point. So he does. He shouts for his mum. He's like, asking, I don't know what's wrong with him. He's not breathing properly. So his mum says, phone 911. So this is about 20 past 8. And they also phone Ashley to let her know something's gone on. So far, it would appear that he's babysitting. Little Austin comes down the stairs, trips up, hurts his mouth. Seems okay for the rest of the evening. And when he puts him to bed, he seemed okay. But then, when he went back to check on him, all of a sudden, he's unresponsive. He's not breathing properly. What the hell's gone on? So, when the police get there, okay, they come into the house and they go up to see Austin. And Austin, at this point, he's lying on his bed and he's bleeding from his mouth, as Dylan had said, okay? What Dylan hadn't mentioned was that Austin had 2 massive bruises on both sides of his little face. Remember, this little boy, he's not 2 yet. And I did give you his date of birth. He's actually 4 days away from his 2nd birthday at this point. Okay. So, as the police are checking him, they realise he's got no pulse. Okay. This little boy's in a really bad way. Okay. And an officer who was downstairs heard Dylan sort of pacing back and forwards, partly talking to his mum, partly talking to himself, saying, oh my God, she's going to kill me. What have I done? So that's what he was overheard saying whilst downstairs. Okay. Now, when the ambulance come, it was the officer who wrapped Austin in a blanket and brought him down and put him in the ambulance. It was the officer that did that. Okay. And the police asked Dylan, they're like, what happened? What's gone on with this baby? And he told them about Austin falling down the stairs and that he said he seemed fine. He was okay. He just cut his mouth. He think he banged his face on the way down. He said, but it had only been a couple of stairs, so he'd seemed fine. And then he put him to bed, and it was when he went back to check on him that he was in this state. He doesn't know what would have caused this. So Ashley got back to the house before the ambulance left, but they wouldn't allow her to travel in the ambulance. Okay. So she had to grab some clothes, and her aunt took her straight to the hospital following on from the ambulance. Okay. But when Ashley arrived at the hospital, it was too late. Little Austin, aged 23 months, had died. Of course, she's devastated. She didn't even get there. She didn't even get there in time to say goodbye to a little boy. She'd only gone to work. And she gets caught, and she doesn't even get to say goodbye to him. Okay? So Dylan at this point he's taken to the police station for questioning. All right. So again, he repeats the story about Austin falling down the stairs. But police say, given the bruises on this child, we don't believe you. We don't believe a word you're saying. So then he said, right, okay, I did hurt him, but I didn't hurt him that much. I didn't hurt him where this could be the result, but I did hurt him. And the police say, no, we're not convinced on what you're saying now either. But the autopsy, don't worry, the autopsy is going to tell us everything we need to know about what happened this evening. And then Dylan decides to tell them the truth, okay? He then decides to tell them the truth. So, we go back to earlier on that evening, and he did fall down the stairs, the last few stairs. He did hurt his mouth, he did bleed. Dylan cleaned him up. He texted Ashley to tell her what had happened, said he was okay. Dylan did let Austin watch some cartoons while he sat there messaging his friends and messaging girls. That was what happened. But then Dylan made Austin some dinner. Okay? And Austin's mouth was obviously so sore from his fall, he couldn't eat it. So he spat it out. And apparently he swore at Dylan. Apparently. Now, it's only Dylan's word, but apparently this little lad who wasn't yet 2. Now we know little kids can, you know, say the odd swear word, but to actually say at somebody, you know, I don't know, normally it's where they're muttering to themselves, or, you know, they'll say it to be funny. I don't know too many under 2 that would just swear at somebody like that. I don't know, but that's what he says. So apparently he swore at him. So Dylan backhanded the toddler to his face. Backhanded him to his face. Okay, and then he made Austin eat what he'd made for him with his sore mouth. But he made him eat it. Okay. And then after that, he was changing Austin. Okay, and as we know, with toddlers, once a child can roll and crawl, they go. Even as young as they start rolling, they'll roll while you're trying to change them. Sometimes it can make you laugh. Sometimes it can be frustrating, especially if they're making a mess. Of course it can be. It can be a little bit frustrating. But rather than call his mum maybe to help him, you know, to get little Austin changed, he slams his head into the floor so he could change him. And then, so that happens. So he's backhanded him, okay, to eat his food. And then that's that. Then when he's changing him, and Austin's not really doing as he's told, he slams his head into the floor. And that's that. And you would think, even a 16-year-old would think, oh my God, what did I just do? Or even, let's just say, no excuses here, none from here, but let's just say it was in a fit of temper. We know he's got anger issues. We know he stopped taking his medication. Let's just say it was in a fit of anger. Right, so he should have been remorseful. He should have been trying his best. He should have gone to his mum and says, Mum, oh my God, please take these kids. I can't trust myself with them. I just can't. He could have left the house. He could have done anything. But no, do you want to know what Dylan did? He got a pillow. And he did this, apparently, because he didn't want to wake up Christopher. And he puts the pillow over the back of Austin's head and starts punching him in the back of the head. And he uses the pillow, he says, because, you know, I thought that might protect him a little bit from my punches. Excuse me? I'm going to punch a baby in the back of the head, but I'm going to protect his head with a pillow. None of this was for any reason whatsoever. And any time after this, Austin, who was sleepy at this point, understandably, he's had his head slammed into the ground. He's been punched in the back of the head repeatedly. He's been backhanded across the face. He's starting to feel sleepy. Any time he'd start to look like he was about to drop off, he'd be violently shaken to keep him awake until bedtime, because he didn't want him to sleep in that time. Now remember, Austin had been napping at 5 o'clock. So this wasn't that this little boy was tired. He was badly hurt. And rather than seeing that and getting him help, no, he thought he could shake the life out of him to try and keep him awake. And that is when, at 8 p.m, he went and laid him down to sleep. And obviously there must have been something in him that thought, I better go back 5 minutes. Or did that even happen? Or was it when he was lying him down, he was like, he's breathing funny here. I think I've gone too far. Was there a 5 minute break, or was it when he was lying him down, he must have realised, okay, this has happened. Shame he didn't realise before he started the whole thing off, hours beforehand. See, this is what blew my brain about this. This wasn't an impulsive blow of temper. That's not what this was, because it wasn't all in one go. This was, from what I've worked out, at least 3 or 4 separate occasions throughout those hours. It wasn't like it happened with the nappy when he was getting changed, or with him not eating. This was the eating, then the nappy. Then later on he decided, and this apparently was for no reason, not that the nappy or him not eating was any excuse, but this was apparently had nothing behind it. He just decided to start punching this baby in the head. And then when from what I could only imagine, this baby starting to become unconscious, he's shaking him awake. Oh my God. So yeah, he basically says he slammed, punched, shook and beat this little boy. That was what he owned up to. So Dylan obviously was arrested. Okay. Now the autopsy of little Austin, it showed that he had head and neck injuries from being struck in the face repeatedly. Remember I said he had 2 big bruises on either side of his face. Now, they weren't there when Ashley left, apparently. Bruises don't normally come up that quick. And they were severe. He was obviously shaken. His head had been pushed, slammed into the ground, as we know. His cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. His manner of death was homicide. Okay, this was after the autopsy. And around this time, I don't know why, I don't know where this came into play in the whole ordeal, but a DNA test was done on Christopher, the baby. Okay, remember I said he's 3 months old. He was believed to be Dylan's. Hence the reason why Dylan's mum allowed Ashley and the two boys to move in with her. Christopher wasn't Dylan's. He wasn't Dylan's. Which meant that obviously Ashley was sleeping with Dylan and another during that time they were together, and believed that Christopher was Dylan's. And I just, part of me, while researching this story, okay, part of me was wondering, had Dylan's mum, alright, it's just my opinion, I'm just throwing it out there, but had Dylan's mum not insisted, had she insisted upon a DNA test before allowing Ashley to move in with her boys, or even before it was even a suggestion. Her son comes home, he's 16. At 15, she would have known he had a girlfriend. I wonder, did she know her age? Just out of curiosity. And then when he comes back and says, my girlfriend's pregnant, was there any part of her that was like, well, slow down a little bit, let's just get a DNA test? Especially once she'd have found out her age and that she already had a child for another man. I just know, I believe that'd be my first question, okay? So, and then before maybe letting them move in, would it have not come up again? Let's just maybe have a test, maybe. But yeah, Christopher wasn't Dylan's, okay? And the reason I've said all of that is maybe, just maybe, if Dylan had realised Christopher wasn't his, he wouldn't have allowed her and her two boys to move in. I can't say whether this would have happened or not. I don't know. I'm just saying, if there's all these ifs in my brain, that's all, okay? So we get to November 2013 at the trial, all right? Now, the defence wanted for Dylan 15 years to life, which was the minimum that could be given for second-degree murder, which is what the prosecution was going for, okay? Now, the defence's argument was, he's only 16, he's inexperienced with kids and controlling his temper, he's inexperienced babysitting kids, what's the experience you need? But I don't know. Don't punch them in the back of the head with a pillow. Let's try not to murder a child when you're babysitting. Maybe. Is that the experience he needed? Just wondering. Just throwing it out there. Just wondering. Ridiculous. Now, Dylan himself, sickening, right? Cried throughout his entire trial. Cried the minute he walked in, okay? You can see it online, you can hear him. He's very heart-wrenching. Oh, it is. It's like, oh, if you didn't know what he'd done, you'd be like, oh my God, what did he do? You can see, he's quite young looking, Dylan is. He is. He's quite a young looking lad. Would you say, I suppose you would put him around 15, 16. He doesn't look older. He's not a big lad. You wouldn't say Ashley confused him with a fellow 19-year-old. You wouldn't do that. You can see what age he is, okay? And he stands there and he's like, I'd give my life for Austin. Okay, death penalty it is then. I didn't mean to kill Austin. I haven't got the strength in me to kill anybody. It was all very dramatic. He appeared to show remorse. He did. And basically, I didn't know how to discipline Austin. again, maybe by not backhanding a child, that maybe that's not the best way to go about disciplining a child. Just wondering. And yeah, the pillow was to protect Austin from his punches. He was looking out for him. That's what the pillow was for. It's what he had the audacity to say. But the judge blew apart this defence. The judge did, okay? Because what we know, well, what we found while doing these stories is that they always talk to people when they're in prison over the phone, don't they? And they talk to them like it's just them and the person on the phone. No one listening. No one overhearing anything. Not being recorded. They always forget that. Always seem to forget it. Well, Dylan's calls to his mum, okay, and one of them being on the 23rd of July 2013, okay. This call to his mum, he actually turned round and he says, I'm a 16-year-old blonde. All I got to do is cry in front of the jury and they're going to feel sorry for me. I'm a 16-year-old blonde. So all I need to do is cry. And that's what he did. That's exactly what he did. And to be honest, had that call not been recorded and heard, would they have felt sorry for him? I don't know. I genuinely, I don't know. I do know one of the jurors was actually, when they were doing the, it's sort of the interviews, you know, when they interview you when you're going to be on a jury, one of the women was actually turned away from being a juror and another one brought in because she was actually a human rights type activist, and so they actually said she wouldn't suit that particular trial because she would feel sorry for him, and given the tears and the theatre he put on when he walked into that courtroom, I would have been surprised if you wouldn't have felt sorry for him. You know, not obviously given the family, of course you wouldn't, but I'm just saying, a stranger watching, you'd be like, oh my God, what did he do? Did he do it? You know, it was very, very well played. There was real tears. He looked very distraught. But yeah, I'm a 16-year-old blonde, so that's all I've got to do, and the jury's going to feel sorry for me. Well, of course, that was it. That's all the judge needed to say, and it was like, oh my God, this was all an act. So on the 9th of December 2013, Dylan was found guilty of second-degree murder, and he was sentenced to 25 years to life. So he's got to wait 25 years before he's even eligible to be thought of for parole. And it could be life. It's American cases for you, isn't it? It just is. It's the thought that he may never get out that appeals to me. It really does. How dangerous this lad is crazy. Because that act he put on in the courtroom, please go and watch it. It's the thumbnail of it alone shows this lad who looks completely distraught, and of course he does look young, so if you don't know what he's done, you'd be like, oh my God. And yeah, he's a dangerous, very, very dangerous boy. Very dangerous. Now, unfortunately, the Court of Appeals, do-gooders, in February of 2016, considered that the sentence was a little bit harsh. It's a little bit harsh for murdering this little boy who was only 4 days shy of his second birthday. it was a bit harsh on what they sentenced Dylan to. So they commuted it to 18 years to life. So they actually knocked 7 years off his sentence before he can actually apply for parole. 7 years? It's a long time to knock off someone's sentence who's murdered a baby. And if he does get out, his parole, if he does make parole after 18 years, it'll actually be in 2031. So he'll only be 34 to 35 years old at that point. He's going to be still very young. He can go on to have a family and have a life, rehabilitation and all that. No. And another thing that actually made me sick while looking into this, there was a news report, and they'd been interviewing his sister, Dylan's sister. Her name's Alex Schumacher, all right? And she actually she's so upset, but not for little Austin, not for Ashley, who's lost her son, not for little Christopher, who's lost his brother, not for any of that. She was upset for her brother, Dylan, the murderer, basically saying that, he was getting better, and he'd done 6 months in. She's obviously sobbing. She's got her brother's gift of putting the tears on. He'd done 6 months in rehab, and he was getting better, and he had 2 kids just dumped on him. Did he? Did he really just have to dumped on him? Is that how we're going to word this? They were dumped on him. I listened to that and I just thought, oh my God, is this, you're going to defend this? Now I know. She looked young too. She did look young too. And it is a brother. But I just thought, even if deep down, when, let's say, you're upset and in a highly emotive state, let's say, and to yourself you're thinking, God, why did this happen? To say it on camera, just after this little boy's been murdered in your home, and you're going to be there like, it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault. He didn't know how to babysit these kids. Your mum was in the house. Let's just remind you of that. Your mum, his mum was in the house. She could have helped him. He just had to ask. I would assume. Just saying. But she was in the house. So, yeah. As you can tell, I was very angry looking into this story. Really, really angry. And it was because after, I thought it was very, really, really sad, obviously. And then watching the video of this Dylan breaking his heart in the courtroom. And I just thought, at last, there's at least a bit of remorse from somebody in one of these cases. We've done so many of these stories. So many. And I just thought, someone who's got at least a bit of remorse for what they've done. And then to the bit further down the line realise that, no, there was no remorse. It was all just theatre. It was all an act to try and get himself less time. I just thought, oh my God, you just can't believe anything anymore. It's just, oh, it's awful. So yes, that was the upsetting Austin Smith story. Oh God, I just feel sick. Feel utterly sick. Just waste. Just there's never a reason, but there's no reason. None. And I just think of this poor baby just wanting his mum to come home from work. We're talking a matter of hours, but for that little boy, That was a long, long, long time. Very, very sad. But thank you all for joining me. Thank you so, so much. Thank you. I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. If you'd like to join my Patreon, it's patreon.com/JessRose5472. Thank you so, so much. I really appreciate it. I really, really do. And yes, I will see you on Thursday. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you guys. How are you all? How are you? Just sickening. Oh, it really is, Phil. Oh, I know, Warwick. I know. It's just, thanks, sis. Thank you so much. Thank you. Look, see, I'm not pointing. I'm thumbsing. I'm not even pointing. So that's how happy I am with you. Thank you. No, I know. And sometimes I'm all right until I start talking about it and voicing it, because researching it's in your head, isn't it? But when you voice it, I just find myself getting so angry, and I'm like, calm down. I can't, half the time I can't even tell you what I write on these notes. Besides some of the things I write, the amount of things I've called this lad on these papers, I can't even show up, let alone repeat. So it's where are you going, Warwick? Oh, okay, so I'm done, so you're going now. That's rude. Thank you, sis, thank you. But yeah, just gets me so annoyed. Did Hayley manage to stick around with us for a story, or did she have to go? I know, look at him. I've literally just finished and off he goes. Night all. See ya, thanks. I suppose it has been nearly an hour though, hasn't it? I do forget. I do ramble for a very long time. I do. But yeah, just awful. I got to admit, I didn't know. I'm sure she's quite. Oh, did she? Yeah, I did. I'd seen the clip, believe it or not, but that's the point. Oh, thank you, Hayley. I've just seen you. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. No, do you know what it was, Hayley? When you mentioned it, I didn't recognise the name at all. And then, because you'd said Dylan Schumacher, and then it was Austin's name I remembered. And then I connected it. And then I was like, that's the fella who was breaking his heart in the court. But I didn't know why. I don't know why I didn't even look into that. But I think I got sidetracked at the time and I never looked back. So when I went in and connected the two and realised that it was him with Austin Smith, I was like, oh my God, you do keep me on your toes. I'm on your toes. I'm mine. Not on yours. I'm mine. You do. Oh, not in your toes. See, we both did it, so it's fine. It's okay. It's all right. We both did that. But yes, so I have one for you. Do you know, I keep saying I'm going to do a story for you. I've probably said it probably 5 or 6 times now. And every time I go to do this particular story for you, I bottle it and I do another one. And I think I might do it on Thursday. Oh, God, it's horrific. It really is. But, yes, I think. Oh, is Natalie here? I haven't seen Natalie. Hey, Natalie. How you doing? So, yeah.